Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, we're also going to be talking about this seeming little breakout that we've seen come from Bitcoin here over the last 12 hours or so. Currently, Bitcoin is trading above the long-term downtrend of resistance as I had it drawn in yesterday's video, and we're going to be discussing what that potentially means in today's video. Have we just seen a proper bullish breakout above the most important downtrend of resistance in all of Bitcoin technical analysis, or is this a fake out? We're going to be discussing that as well as Bitcoin's volume, because volume is going to be telling us a lot today about this little breakout, this little scare quotes breakout that we've seen here in the last 24 hours or so. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,436, well above, maybe not well above, but about $30 or $40 above the downtrend of resistance that Bitcoin was under in yesterday's video. And as you can see, for everybody who may be new here, this is the long-term downtrend of resistance we've been looking at with touches back here in February, in May, back over here in September and late July, and we've seen this play a very important role in Bitcoin technical analysis for the majority of the year. And currently, as you can see, it seems that we've broken bullish out of it, but I want to go ahead and make clear that I don't think this is a proper bullish breakout before we get on to the crypto market recap. I don't think that we've properly broken bullish out of this. What I think is more likely that we should be doing is that we should be redrawing our downtrend to incorporate this little bit of price movement and doing that. And the reason I say that is because if Bitcoin had properly broken the most important downtrend of resistance in all of Bitcoin technical analysis, I think we would have seen much more explosive price action. Think about it, guys. This is the most important downtrend of resistance in all of Bitcoin technical analysis. I'm not saying that for hyperbole. It is indeed the most important. And seeing Bitcoin get above it should have brought more bullish price action than we've seen. So the way I'm going to be interpreting this is that this is a short-term move to the upside, which should warrant a redefinition of the downtrend rather than an actual proper breakout of the downtrend of resistance as we've seen play out here in the year. That's what I would be doing right there. So with that out of the way, I do want to go ahead and talk more about the volume for Bitcoin, and also want to talk about what the potential breakout for this will be looking like in the future. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and do the crypto market recap, because there are some things that we want to discuss here on CoinMarketCap. As we can see, the total composite price for Bitcoin is currently hovering around $6,534. Again, well above this long-term downtrend of resistance. So if we were to look at the average price of Bitcoin across all exchanges, Bitcoin is above this downtrend of resistance. I don't know how significant that is, but I do think that that's going to give us a little bit of bullish exuberance, maybe not exuberance being the right word, but a little bit of bullish strength to eventually push us above that actual average price action for Bitcoin being above the long-term downtrend of resistance, as well as previous breaks of that downtrend of resistance, even on charts like Coinbase, which do not use Tether, I think are going to be weakening this downtrend of resistance, which means we will be getting above it in the short-term future. Anyway, Bitcoin's daily volume is one of the things we want to discuss in today's video, because as you can see, Bitcoin's volume is extremely low again. We see Bitcoin's volume hovering down here around $3.2 billion, and total cryptocurrency market volume hovering around $9.5 billion. Guys, if we come in here to the Bitcoin chart, into the Bitcoin page, I should say, here on Coinbase, excuse me, on CoinMarketCap, we can come back and we can look at total Bitcoin volume over history, over time. And what we see is that back over here during November, December, and early January, Bitcoin's daily volume, you can see it right down here on the little tooltip, was extremely high. We saw Bitcoin's daily volume hovering around $10 to $15 billion. On good days, it would go over $20 billion on Bitcoin alone. Right now, we're seeing total market volume under $10 billion, guys. And I do believe a big reason for that is because Bitcoin has basically not been doing a whole lot over the last couple of weeks. It really hasn't been doing a whole lot, and I think a lot of what's driving people out of the market is just people getting bored. I've talked about this in many other videos previously, that Bitcoin's basically been trading sideways for the last month or so, and I believe a big reason for that is that we've started to enter an accumulation phase prior to the next bull run. And if you are still in the market, I think you're in a very good state right now. I think you should definitely be staying in the market, and I think if you stay in the market for another 6 months or so, you're going to thank yourself. But at the same time, I think a lot of people have left the market, and a lot of volume has likewise left the market, simply because the market just isn't as interesting as it was, say, 6 months ago, or especially a year ago in the run-up to $20,000. Over the last 24 hours, Bitcoin is up by about 0.75%. We saw that in the technical analysis earlier on when we saw Bitcoin move up a little bit here after getting support down here around $6,360. And that's not really the only cryptocurrency doing well today. If we sort by change over the last 24 hours, we see 4 cryptocurrencies in the double-digit green. Bytum, Nexo, Veritasium, and Ravencoin are all up above 10%. We see Ravencoin up about 34%. I don't know where I got 36% from, but we see Ravencoin's doing very well. Many of the altcoins are doing very, very well today, As we scroll down here, we can see that the vast majority of altcoins are green. Some of them are very shallow green, but if we look down here, what we also see is that the altcoins that are red are in a very shallow red. The biggest loser today is Digitex Futures, down by not even 6%. CyberMiles is down by about 5.4%. Really nothing to write home about there, guys. So overall, the altcoin market is doing quite well today, which is definitely a good sign, and I think that comes with some of the price action that we've seen from Bitcoin here over the last 24 hours or so, as Bitcoin has been moving up and testing this downtrend of resistance again. Ethereum is an interesting one also because Ethereum is currently trading above $200. I'll go ahead and show you one thing on Ethereum. This isn't an Ethereum TA video, but I do want to show you this. Ethereum is sitting above $200, and it's also sitting above this uptrend here on the hourly chart. If you go and draw that, then Ethereum has a couple of very strong levels of support at $200 and that uptrend. Keep that in mind when you're doing your TA and trading on Ethereum if you are in the Ethereum market. Overall, not a whole lot more we want to talk about here. Tether's getting back close to 99 cents, so maybe we can start using the Bitfinex chart again more accurately. For right now, though, we are going to be staying on Coinbase. So, like I said, two things that we want to discuss in this video. We want to discuss Bitcoin breaking this long-term descending triangle pattern, whether or not we've properly broken it. We've already covered that. And we also want to discuss Bitcoin's volume. So like I said, what we saw earlier is that we saw Bitcoin get above that downtrend of resistance as we had previously had it drawn right about there. And like I said, I don't think that this is a proper breakout simply because if Bitcoin were going to be breaking bullish above this long-term downtrend of resistance, I believe it would be much more explosive. I believe we'd see a lot more price action coming back in, a lot more bullish exuberance. I think if we properly break this downtrend of resistance, what we're going to see is that Bitcoin would be trading somewhere close to $7,000 by now. I don't think that we would be stopping at $6,450. And if we were, then that says a lot about the strength of the bulls. So I really don't think that's what's happened here. I think what's really happened here is that Bitcoin has just changed the actual degree of this downtrend. And we've seen this happen several times where sometimes you'll have a downtrend and you have to redraw it, and you have to redraw it, and you have to redraw it because the market doesn't really have a breakout, but it just pushes maybe $50 above it. This downtrend used to be drawn something more like that. It was drawn, I forget exactly what it was. It was drawn something like over here, and by that measure, we would have already been out of that downtrend. If we come in here to the 4 hour, I can draw it as it used to be drawn. And by that measure, we would already be out of it because what we had drawn here was we saw that Bitcoin was touching those two highs and then went right through the market right over here, and we were already well out of it. And actually, I do want to show you that because that's an interesting way to look at the market, because by that measure, we're actually already out of the descending triangle pattern and we're moving into an accumulation phase, which I think makes just as much sense, if not more sense, than the descending triangle pattern that we're currently looking at, because Bitcoin has been trading sideways for the last couple of months, for the last month or so anyway. I've talked about previously how I think we've already entered an accumulation phase, and if we say that we're already out of this downtrend of resistance and we're already broken out of it and we're already out of the descending triangle pattern, then moving sideways makes a lot of sense because we've already entered that accumulation phase that I've talked about, and maybe we're not going to see an explosive price movement after we get above this. With that said, we're going to keep assuming that we are going to, because that seems to be what most people in the market are looking at. A lot of people are looking at this downtrend of resistance and this descending triangle pattern to do something explosive. So what do I think is going to happen with this? I do think that we are going to be getting above it. And one thing that I did not expect to happen is I did not expect for us to actually get support and garner support down here around $6,360 or so. I didn't really think that we were going to bounce off of that, but we have, and we've come up here and we're testing this downtrend of resistance again. And every time you go up and test a resistance level or a support level, every time you test it, you make that level a little bit weaker. And we've tested this level over and over and over again, and we even got above it at one point over here on this wick when Tether caused the market to moon. So I really do think that this level is getting a lot weaker, and I do think that we are going to be breaking it, although it may take some time. I'm not saying that we're going to get through it today, but like I've said in many other videos, I do think we are going to be getting through it in the next couple of weeks at the latest. Like I said, I've talked about that in many other videos, so I'm not going to get too much into that, but I do want to talk about volume today and touch on that kind of boredom that we've seen in the market lately. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Bitcoin has just been trading sideways for the last couple of weeks. We've seen volume drop off in a big way here on the daily chart. You can see that volume back over here in September, October, November, December of 2017, and moving into the beginning of this bear market was a lot higher, and it's very low today. If you come out here to the weekly and the monthly chart, especially the monthly chart, you can see that very clearly. We can see that the volume has tapered off quite a bit, and if we come out to the monthly chart, the difference is even more striking. As you can see, the volume has just been tapering off and off and off and off and off. Of course, the October month is not over yet, so we can't really use that volume candle all that well, but volume has dropped off a lot. And I think what that means is that a lot of people have left the market. out of boredom. And I think what that also indicates is that we're probably about to see some kind of reversal coming, guys, because typically volume is a good correlative indicator of actual attention in the market and actual interest in the market and exuberance in the market, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you see very, very good, very, very big movements, I should say, not necessarily good, but when you see very big movements, you typically see there's a lot of volume. And then the contrary to that, the flip side of that coin is very, very low volume and very stagnant markets. And that's what we're seeing right now. We've seen a very bullish market and a very bearish market over here with a lot of exuberance and a lot of volume. And we're seeing the flip side of that coin right now. And I think what a lot of markets do, and if you go back in time and you look at markets, you do see this, markets tend to move from exuberance to boredom and stagnation in kind of a cyclical pattern. We saw that happen back over here. We'll have to go to the Bitfinex chart to see this, but if you go back over here to the actual previous accumulation phase that we were in back over here, we saw volume was very low, and we also saw a lot of basically stagnation in the market over here coming towards the end of the bear market and moving on into the beginning of the bull market of 2016 and 17. And right now, I think we're seeing that cycle kind of play out again, where we saw a major amount of volume, a major amount of volatility over here at the end of 2017, and right now we're seeing the exact opposite. And I think that's going to come to bear again in the method that I talked about in the previous video, in a previous video, where I talked about how I think we're mostly out of the bear market. We're moving into, at worst, the accumulation phase of the next bull market, or we're very soon going to be moving into the proper bull market, depending on how we break this downtrend of resistance. I do think that's what we're going to see happen, guys, and I think the low volume is a good indicator of that, because the low volume typically is a contrarian bullish signal. That's the point of today's video that I wanted to make. Typically, low volume is a bullish contrarian signal, which means that typically when you see low volume, you're probably going to see that volume come back in a big way, and you're probably normally going to see that volume come back in a bullish way. Because think about it, guys, if the market's already extremely bullish and you see low volume, that doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you're seeing a manipulated pump and dump or something like that. But typically what you normally see is that when the market is mooning, when you see a lot of volume, you're typically looking at the end of a bull market. And typically when you're looking at the end of a bear market, you see volatility drop off and you see volume drop off. I talked about this in a previous video where I said typically bull markets end in a roar and bear markets end in a whimper, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the market whimper. We're seeing very, very low volume. We're seeing very low volatility, and I think that is a good signal for us that the bear market has come to an end and that the new bull market will be forming in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months or so. Like I've said, I believe a new bull market will be properly forming, that we can confirm with our technical analysis by the end of February 2019. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in today's video. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of that technical analysis. Do you think the low volume is a good indication that we're probably going to see some kind of bullish momentum coming here over the next couple of months? I do think that the majority of this bear market is over. I've said that many times, and I do stand by that. I believe that the majority of this bear market is over, and I do think a new bull market is on the horizons because of everything we've been discussing on this channel for the last several months. I'm always interested to hear your opinions in the comments section down below, so definitely tell me what you think down there. Also, if you're interested, you can join the Discord server and come talk to me and the thousands of people we have in the Discord server in person. We have a great community going on over there. And also, if you guys want to learn how to do technical analysis, that's why I created the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you click the link in the description, you can see all 20 videos, over 5 hours of content that we offer down at the link below. It's a very fair deal, I do believe, and we have a lot of people in the course. We haven't had a single person refund it, and we have had dozens of people join. We've had a lot of people very, very happy about it. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.